Chapter 1. The Note with the Crescent. You are 24 years old, standing beneath the fluorescent lights of a Chicago bank at 2:11 in the morning, holding a counterfeit $100 bill with a crescent-shaped gap in its green ink. 12 notes with the same flaw have appeared in 3 states. No one knows who printed them, but the grocery owner across from you has lost enough money to miss payroll on Friday. His hands keep folding together. You work fraud claims for the bank. Until tonight, crime has meant spreadsheets, signatures, and angry customers. The night smells of wet concrete. Then Special Agent Dana Reyes enters wearing a rain-darkened coat and places photographs across the table. Gas stations, pawn shops, a hospital cashier's window. The same crescent appears in every image. Patterns are promises, Reyes says. Someone always keeps them. You notice the notes were deposited near interstate exits, never more than 6 days apart. Reyes does not praise you. She asks you to explain how you found it. For the next hour, you trace dates, distances, and camera timestamps while the owner watches as if numbers might return his employees' wages. Your analysis helps agents identify a traveling counterfeit crew. But what stays with you is Reyes returning 3 weeks later to explain the case, even though the owner may never recover every dollar. You thought federal work was about authority. Reyes makes it look like responsibility carried quietly. 6 months later, a Secret Service application sits open on your laptop. The requirements are blunt: background investigation, medical testing, physical standards, mobility, firearms, and willingness to go wherever the mission requires. You hesitate until you notice the crescent in a case photograph beside your desk. Then you submit, unaware that a much smaller mistake will follow you longer than that first pattern. Chapter 2. The Candidate Who Was Not Ready. At 25, you arrive in Glencoe, Georgia, with polished shoes, a stiff haircut, and the private belief that attention to detail will carry you through anything. The belief lasts 4 days. Federal training strips away the version of yourself built from good interviews and clean resumes. You study law, report writing, defensive tactics, firearm safety, and decision-making under exhaustion. Instructors correct everything: where you stand, what you overlook, how quickly confidence becomes carelessness. Marcus Bell, a former county detective with a dry sense of humor, becomes your closest classmate. Dana Reyes, visiting as an agency instructor, treats you like everyone else. During a protection exercise, your team surveys a mock hotel route. You check the ballroom, elevators, loading dock, and arrival point. You miss a service stairwell because a catering cart blocks the door. An evaluator walks through it and reaches the protected area. The whistle ends the exercise. No one is harmed, yet the failure feels physical. Marcus trusted your sweep. The class repeats the scenario in humid heat while you replay the blocked doorway. By sunset, your shirt is soaked, and confidence has vanished. Reyes finds you after dark, rewriting the survey. You saw a cart, she says. You decided it was a wall. At specialized training outside Washington, the work becomes agency-specific: protective methods, investigations, emergency response, driving, and financial crime. You learn that protection depends less on dramatic reaction than on removing danger before it becomes visible. On graduation day, Reyes shakes Marcus's hand, then yours. You can learn, she says. It is her first approval, and it feels smaller than expected. Your first field office assignment begins Monday. In the envelope is a city you did not request, and a case file already waiting. Chapter 3. The Interview. You rushed. Your first field office is in Detroit, where winter wind cuts between buildings and the coffee tastes burnt before sunrise. You expect protection. Instead, your supervisor hands you a cyber-enabled fraud case involving stolen payment information, false identities, and small businesses absorbing losses they cannot afford. Marcus is assigned beside you. Reyes remains in Washington, but her notes appear in your reports. Explain the evidence. Separate fact from assumption. Do not write past what you can prove. Restaurant owner Lila Haddad becomes your first important witness. Her account was used to move stolen funds, and the evidence makes her look involved. You arrive determined to expose a contradiction. When her answers become hesitant, you press harder, mistaking fear for guilt. She ends the interview. 2 days later, her lawyer cancels further cooperation. A time-sensitive lead goes cold, and your supervisor removes you from witness contact. Marcus conducts the next interviews while you catalog records beneath humming lights. Then you find what you should have noticed. The suspicious login occurred while security footage showed Lila serving customers. Someone had used information taken from a compromised payroll provider. She was not protecting a criminal. She feared your accusation would destroy the business her family built over 20 years. You ask permission to apologize in person. Lila does not forgive you immediately. She lets you speak, then slides over a folder. Inside are delivery receipts bearing a company name linked to 3 other victims. The lead helps identify a money movement network, but your report begins with your own error. Months later, Reyes calls after reading it. Why include the mistake? Because it changed the case. No, she says, because it changed you. Before hanging up, she tells you to pack for Seattle. Your first real protective advance begins in 48 hours. Chapter 4. The Door Behind the Flowers. At 29, you stand inside a Seattle convention center while rain presses silver lines against the glass. A visiting head of government arrives the next morning. Your assignment is not to walk beside the protectee. It is to help ensure nothing unexpected reaches that moment. The advance team coordinates with local police, venue staff, medical personnel, and transportation crews. You compare schedules, credentials, room changes, contingencies, and routes that may never be used. Marcus says successful protection looks like nothing happened. By midnight, the ballroom is filled with white flowers. A florist asks to reopen a side door for one final arrangement. The credential appears valid, and the venue manager warns that delay will embarrass the hosts. You remember the catering cart. You pause the delivery and verify the name. The credential belongs to an employee who called in sick. The driver is not an attacker. He is a subcontractor sent without proper clearance. The discovery is mundane, which is the point. Unverified access does not become safe because the person holding it looks ordinary. The flowers wait outside. Rainwater gathers slowly beneath the delivery van's rear tires. The schedule slips 9 minutes. A senior official complains. You document the decision. The visit passes without incident. Cameras capture handshakes, flags, and motorcades. They do not capture the hour spent resolving a door behind flowers. As the command post closes, Reyes appears in a supervisory role. She studies your paperwork, then the sealed entrance. You check the door, she says. It is a callback, not praise, but you understand. That evening, your supervisor offers a temporary assignment supporting a major protective detail. Accepting will move you closer to the work you imagined, and farther from the life you have begun building at home. Chapter 5. The Empty Seat. By 33, your calendar belongs to other people. Flights move, events shift, weather closes airports, and breakfast plans disappear by lunch. You marry Elena, an emergency room nurse who understands interrupted sleep, but not the loneliness of a spouse who cannot always say where he is going. Your daughter Sophia is 6 when she draws your family. Elena wears blue, Sophia wears yellow. You are a black rectangle beside an aeroplane. The temporary protection assignment becomes permanent. You learn the rhythm of early site checks, radio traffic, motorcade movements, holding rooms, crowd lines, and the constant question of what does not fit. The protectee may be visible to thousands, but your work is built from details they never see. On the morning of Sophia's first recital, you promise to sit in the 3rd row. Then an overseas movement changes. Your team departs before dawn. At 7:14 p.m., Elena sends a photograph of an empty chair beside the aisle. Sophia stands on stage holding a cardboard moon. You watch later without sound in a hotel corridor. Success that day means every movement occurred safely and on schedule. It does not feel like success. Marcus sits beside you. The job always sends a bill. It just waits to show you the total. You keep Sophia's drawing folded inside your black notebook. The paper softens as years of airports pass through your hands. Then campaign season begins, multiplying travel, crowds, temporary venues, and exhausted teams. You are promoted into a supervisory role for an Ohio event, the responsibility you have worked towards since Glencoe. 40 minutes before arrival, a local officer reports a problem at the outer perimeter. You glance at the clock and make the decision that becomes the worst line in your career. Chapter 6. The Gap You Approved. The report concerns a delivery lane behind an arena. Temporary barriers do not match the approved plan, but inner security layers remain intact. The motorcade is moving. Rebuilding the lane will delay the event and worsen congestion outside. You approve the position. 6 minutes later, a protester slips through the gap, crosses the restricted lane, and collides with Agent Priya Nair before being stopped. The person carries no weapon. The protectee never approaches danger. Priya falls badly and tears a ligament in her knee. Headlines call it a breach. The internal review records the rushed report, the misplaced barrier, and your choice to treat remaining layers as permission to accept a preventable weakness. You are removed from the detail. A promotion board is postponed. Priya begins months of rehabilitation. Reyes meets you in a windowless office. You were afraid of being the person who delayed the event. I thought the risk was contained. You thought the schedule was watching. The serious failure is not that you lacked information. You had it. You chose which consequence you were more willing to face. At physical therapy, Priya is angry, and she has earned it. You do not ask forgiveness. You explain without excuses and tell her the record will carry your name. After the review, you return to Detroit. Some colleagues treat it as exile. The field office gives you a protective intelligence case involving repeated threats against a former president. The person behind them is a 17-year-old named Caleb, whose mother has been trying unsuccessfully to obtain psychiatric care. The easy response is to see only a threat. The harder question is whether accountability and intervention can occupy the same room. Reyes sends one message before you meet the family. Do not confuse mercy with carelessness, or caution with cruelty. Chapter 7. The Boy Behind the Messages. Caleb's home is a narrow brick duplex with a broken porch light and unopened school letters beside the door. His mother, Denise, has printed every message he posted. She highlighted medication changes, nights he disappeared, and the week he began insisting strangers spoke through the television. The threats must be investigated. Intent, capability, access, behavior, and escalation matter. So does a frightened family that has been asking for help. You sit across from Caleb at a scratched kitchen table. He tries to sound powerful, then loses track of his sentence. The anger in the messages is real. So is the illness beneath it. A prosecutor is prepared to consider charges. A clinician has located an emergency placement but needs cooperation. Denise asks whether you came to take her son away. You think of Lila Haddad, and how certainty once made you stop listening. We came because the messages cannot continue, you tell her. And because this cannot continue either. The case moves through lawful channels, with restrictions, evaluation, treatment, and monitoring. There is no cinematic conversion. Caleb does not thank you. Denise does, months later, in a letter saying he has returned to school for half days. The letter changes how you understand protection. Sometimes the person creating danger is also standing inside it. Your work earns quiet respect because you neither ignored the threat nor flattened a human being into one. Priya calls after reading the outcome summary. Her rehabilitation is nearly complete. You slowed down, she says. It is not absolution. It is an opening. At 41, you are selected to lead younger agents during advances and major events. One of them, Lena Cho, carries a new black notebook and asks too many questions. You recognize the ambition. During her first hotel survey, a housekeeping cart blocks a stairwell door. Lena walks past it. You call her back. Chapter 8. The Decision No Camera Sees. 7 years later, Lena is the agent you trust to challenge senior officials when a detail does not make sense. Marcus supervises transportation. Priya, recovered and promoted, coordinates local partners. Reyes has retired, though her questions remain in every briefing. The event is a national memorial in Philadelphia, attended by the president, former presidents, foreign dignitaries, and thousands of mourners. The city feels wrapped in rain and police lights. 3 hours before the ceremony, Lena reports that a credentialed contractor entered a restricted service corridor at a time inconsistent with his assignment. He is left. Nothing suspicious is found, and the schedule is tightening. An official urges you to continue. Delaying movement could disrupt motorcades, airspace coordination, and the ceremony. The old version of you hears the clock. You order a pause. Teams revalidate credentials, inspect the corridor, review available footage, and account for personnel. The contractor is located. His explanation is innocent. He entered the wrong level while searching for a freight lift. Yet the review reveals a door alarm silenced during maintenance and never restored. The movement changes while the fault is corrected. The ceremony begins late. Commentators speculate about weather and logistics. No public explanation is needed. In the command post, Lena expects anger. "You made the right call," you tell her. She looks relieved, but you add, "Next time, report it sooner." Marcus laughs. Priya meets your eyes across the room, and both of you understand which arena still exists between you. After the memorial, an envelope waits on your desk. Inside is Sophia's childhood drawing, newly framed. Elena found it in a cupboard. On the back, adult Sophia has written, "I knew you were there, even when the chair was empty." Alongside it is an offer to become a senior supervisor in Washington. For the first time, moving upward and serving well no longer look like the same decision. Chapter 9. The Chair Beside the Aisle. At 55, you decline the Washington position. You remain long enough to finish the memorial review, recommend changes, and sit with Lena through her first difficult assessment. Then you choose retirement before the job chooses it for you. Your final morning begins at 4:32 in a hotel loading dock, where your hardest lessons began. Rain taps against metal doors. A catering cart stands beside a stairwell. Lena notices it without being told. She checks the door, confirms the route, and records the change. When she returns, you are holding the black notebook carried through Detroit, motorcades, command posts, hospital rooms, and airports whose names blurred together. Inside are no secrets, only permitted reminders, case numbers, lessons, names of people to call, and sentences written after mistakes. One page holds Lila Haddad's lead, another holds Denise's letter. Priya's injury review is reduced to 6 words. The schedule is never the protectee. Sophia's drawing is no longer folded inside. It hangs at home above a chair beside the aisle. You do not give Lena the notebook. Experience cannot be transferred like equipment, and your errors should not become somebody else's mythology. Instead, you tear out one blank page. "What am I supposed to write?" she asks. "The part you almost miss." The movement proceeds without incident. People wave behind barricades. Cameras follow the motorcade. By afternoon, another agent occupies your position, and the machinery continues without a visible seam. That evening, you sit in a school auditorium beside Elena. Sophia, now a teacher, has invited you to watch her daughter perform in a play about the moon. The house lights dim. Your granddaughter finds you in the 3rd row and smiles. Your phone remains silent. For years, you believed the badge meant standing closest to power. The work corrected you. It was the grocery owner waiting for payroll, the witness you judged too quickly, the colleague injured by a decision you could have changed, the boy whose threat did not erase his need for help, the agent who learned to stop at a blocked door. On the drive home, you open the notebook. The first page still contains the crescent sketched from that counterfeit bill at 24. Below it, Dana Reyes wrote, "Patterns are promises." You add one final line beneath hers. "So are absences." Then you close the cover, place it in the drawer, and take the seat your family saved for you.